You're invited to ask questions. If you have any, please raise your hands and wait for the microphone so we can all understand you. Denis, is this more a film about work or about the workplace?
Oh, what a question for
It's
for
too
a
early.
Monday morning. Well, I guess I need to talk about the inspiration that there was a spark at some point because I was thinking about myself being not only myself but artists or filmmakers or what is a normal day of work for an artist or a filmmaker. And sometimes I go to bed and I'm like, was that day worth something? What did I do today as a filmmaker, Because we don't shoot 365 days a week. So I was kind of haunted by my utility as an artist. So I started visiting a lot of places like that, and I know a lot of people who work 9 to 5 or 60 hours a week, and they work in these industrial places. So that was the spark, I guess, for this idea. And I know the subject was kind of abstract, the abstract idea of work. And the other thing is, I made that film 2 years ago called Bestiaire, and it was only animals in a zoo. And I thought that film was very. I didn't expect the film to be that successful with a lot of people, and I thought, what did people like in that film? They liked the animals. Can I do the same thing but with a very unspectacular material? Just filming people at work. So that was my challenge. How can I find some poetry or melancholia, or what can I do with such unspectacular material? Can I just film people at work and something will come out of that? So I guess that was the inspiration like 6, 8 months ago, and it became that sort of hybrid you just saw because I like to confront documentary and fiction, and I wanted to start documentary, and then fiction comes in invading the documentary, and then at the during editing process, we discovered that we edited the film like a normal day of work. Like in the morning, you are with your boss, and your boss is telling you what you have to do during the day. So that would be a sort of like the first scene we see the woman talking to the worker, and using a very sensual tone. Then you have a full day of work, and it's a bit painful to watch because for some people that's a normal day of work, and then the whole ending is like at night we talk about our day at work. Sometimes it's cliches like I'm so tired, I'm so depressed, and then we go to bed listening to music. So yeah, that's why I said some sort of allegory about the abstract idea of work. It's about work mainly. That was your question.
Yeah.
It's about work stuff.
Okay. To me, it felt like this fictional part that was more towards the end was like the workplace became a stage where you could put your little play on.
Yeah, of course, because everything is very stylized. Like we don't have characters in the film. There are more like figures of workers, and if you look carefully, some actors come back in different work environments. So that's why they talk in such a stylized way. So work become like a stage, yeah, like you say. The other thing I didn't want to do was activist film or a militant film or the usual documentary about work trying to tell you that work is exploitation or anti-capitalist this or that, or demonizing the bosses and making workers making heroes out of workers. I didn't want to go in that thing because for a lot of us, working is a good thing, and we like our work. So everything you see in the movie, nobody is suffering, nobody is exploited, nobody is. So I knew I didn't want to do that usual anti this or pro that documentary.
Are there any questions?
Sorry, I talk a lot.
Good morning. Did you use any artificial lighting? Because some pictures are very like playing documentary, and some are very beautiful, like a painting almost.
everything you see is we didn't have any single spot on the set. That was made for $0 with 4 people. So it's all natural light. The artificial stuff, there's about 7 or 8 digital effects. Like some stuff I didn't like on the wall, we erased it. Yeah, we're 3 or 4, and everything is natural. The only intervention I did are the things you see on the wall, like a day of work should start by a long pause. That's me. Or if you're very good, you're gonna get the work, and if you're very, very good, you're gonna ask someone else to do it for you. That's me. But everything else was right there, and my challenge as well was visiting these places and convince the bosses to let us shoot, because they would always ask, "What is your film?" Can you imagine explaining that film to them? And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a filmmaker," and just look at me. Sometimes they just don't believe I'm a filmmaker. So I would say, just give us 3 hours, we're gonna film the workers, and we leave. And everybody you see on the screen, they sign a release. But every worker would come to me and ask me what I was doing. So I had to take the time with each one of them to say, "Oh, we're doing this and that. Is it gonna play on TV? No." And well, the human adventure was amazing, like meeting all these people, and especially the first part, like every worker comes from a different country. So I had to go see them, and some of them didn't want us there at all. So I would go, and I remember one day there was workers from the Philippines, and they were so shy, and they didn't want me with my camera around them. So you go, you say hi, you take a good 15 minutes, and I said like, "Thank you" in their language, and they freaked out. They were so happy. I said "thank you" in Tagalog language, and they were like, "Oh, you give the release, they sign the release, you shoot." So, no, it was a human adventure, first of all, for me, because let's be honest, this film is made by someone who will never do that kind of job, and it's seen by people who will never do that kind of job. So, you need to respect the workers, you can't be condescending, you cannot film them like this or like this, you need to be at a good human level when you do something like that. So.
Yes, there's one in the back and one here in the front.
I would like to ask you about the religious, or at least metaphysical, implications of the film. I mean, in the beginning there's the title, which refers to the Bach chorale, or Joy, Jesus, Joy of Man's Desiring. And then there are those moments of prayer, and the woman from the beginning who's then godlike dressed in the end. I felt a bit. What made you think of this?
Well, you just used 2 words I wouldn't use, like religious or metaphysical. For me, I just discovered visiting these places, there's a lot of rituals, like groups and rituals, and in the morning they do some special stuff. Not praying in front of their machines, of course, but it was just my ideas of making sure the unspectacular things we're filming at some point are getting to another level, you know? Maybe not religious or metaphysical like you say, and I wouldn't say the film is full of symbols or metaphors, of course, but just to make sure the film is not too trivial, you know, just a little something. So the back, it's a cantata, I think. Just happened like that, just to lift the film a little. It's not an observational documentary. It's not that there's a desire for fiction in a film like that. I'm not a documentary filmmaker. It was, I don't know if you saw my film Bestial, but it was not just a film about a zoo. You had to go to some other level and find some poetry or, like I said, melancholia. So you find these little things, and hopefully it works, but there's no religious motive in the film.
Well, first of all, I really like the film. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This probably